and this is our plan of attack.
Banks have become an essential threat to our democracy. So consider this justice.
Thank you for listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, the #1 listener-supported radio station on the internet. Please help support this station so this battle can continue forward. Revolution Radio! The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Stargate-to-the-Cosmos, and I'm your host, Ykarta Lessin, with my co-host, Dr. Sasha Lessin, and I'm not sure if Kevin Estrella is here with us today. Maybe not, maybe so. And we have with us today, as our special guest, well, first of all, we have producer Thomas Becker, and he's also known as Mad Cleaner, and he works hard to get everybody in on the back end. And we have today with us Penny Bradley, James-Rink, and joel-lakey, also known as General Hendricks. These are people involved in the secret space program and MK Ultra, MyLab, Super Soldiers, experimentation. Before I bring on our guests and do a sound check, I know that a Mad Painter is still doing his job, getting people on board here. Dr. Sasha, let's begin with you. Sound check, and how are you today, sweetheart?
Oh, I'm really good. Indeed, I am.
Yeah. I'm just getting the show page up, and I've had a crazy busy day, but for all those who want to know more on each of these speakers, these people are going to speak at the 2018 Stargate-to-the-Cosmos-expo, October 25th to 28th, at the Ramada Midtown, Albuquerque. Got to make sure you get the Midtown. Apparently there's 3 Ramadas in Albuquerque. And we're going to talk to them about what they're going to speak about at the conference and talk about their stories. And we're going to do a roundtable here. So, anything else you want to say, honey?
Hello? This is just hello?
Yeah, speak up, honey.
Okay. This is going to be a good show. You sure to listen to every word of it. What we want you to know that there are some really traumatic things that have happened to people. Really traumatic things, and it's still going on, and that underneath all of this is our motive of making it better and stopping some really terrible things that you're going to hear about.
Okay, so I guess we'll go boy, girl, as best we can. Penny Bradley, are you with us today?
Yeah, I'm here.
Good. Uh-oh.
We have there's feedback. Well, let me see.
Maybe turn your mic down just a hair. I'll turn mine down a hair.
Is that...
Mad? There. That sounds great. Yes. Okay, go ahead.
I plugged in the headphones instead of using the speaker. We have a fire about 40 miles from me, and the smoke is really thick part of the time. And when it's really bad, I lose my voice. So if I suddenly can't talk, that's why.
Wow. And what part of the world are you in? I know there's wildfires in California again.
I'm near Yosemite, and I'm about 40 miles from the Ferguson fire.
Oh, wow. Well, sorry to hear that's going on again. Another summer of it, so.
Well, it's been going on for several weeks. It has no sign of going away. It's still only about 30% contained.
Wow. Interesting. Well, okay. Now we're going to go just do a sound check here. Somebody's breathing into the mic. I don't know who that is. Let's see. Let's go to James. James, are you with us?
Yeah, I think you just muted my mic. Oh, there?
No, there you go. I didn't mute anything. I don't have control over
great. Okay.
Mutings.
Hello, everybody. Yeah, I'm James-rink. I've been used for various super soldier missions and projects, and I'm going to share some of my experiences today. I'm not quite sure what the agenda is, but I'm sure we can figure it out as soon as we get going here with this roundtable discussion. So I'm just as curious as the listeners are what's going to happen today.
What we're going to say today, so we'll see what happens. It's an adventure. We're on an adventure. So let me bring in our last roundtable person, General Hendricks. Joel-lakey, are you with us? Is that you on the phone there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, are you outside?
No, I'm inside.
Okay. Anyway, there's a little bit of wind coming through. Oh, that might be mine. Okay, let me turn my fan off. There we go. That might help. Oh, it's me. Okay. So just tell everybody just a little bit about yourself, and then we're going to go. What we're going to do today, after Joel checks in, is we're going to go and ask each other questions. All of you have been on panels before on the Aquarian Radio Network and Revolution Radio, so we're just going to be the veterans we are and start sharing and asking each other's questions. So let's get your check-in, Joel. Just a little brief thing about who you are.
My Canadian name is Joel-lakey. My secret space program name was General Hendricks in the Dark Fleet. My home world name is Ykarta. I was in the Dark Fleet for 20 years, serving the White Reptilian Royals as their general. I've done many battles and many ring or avatar battles with the different avatars I use. I travel the multiverse when I sleep. I can astral project myself. I can visit past lives and memories, past, present, future. Currently, I am working in the Dark Fleet as part-time as a super soldier, as a general. I'm mostly doing training schools at academies for the other super soldiers coming up. Pretty much basic stuff like that. And if you have any more questions, you can ask me.
Okay, so that's a good foundation. A good question came to mind for myself and the listeners, and maybe one of the three of you could explain. What are the different programs? You're in Dark Fleet. Penny, you're really good at that. Would you explain the various programs? And then we'll start the round table. Are you there, Penny? Or do you want James to do it?
I had my mic off.
Okay.
We have two mercenary companies that are in competition with each other. And they purchase an altar and a tissue sample, and they build you a clone and just pop you into it. And they use you for the duration. And when the clone is killed, you come back, that altar comes back to the natural body. So they have a vested interest in keeping you alive. Now, those two companies are called Kruger and Monarch, and the people in them are programmed to hate each other with a passion. I have one altar in each of them, so I have issues. I used to have two altars in Kruger, but one of them was recently purchased by Nachtwaffen, which is what the Germans call the German fleet. The German fleet is the original one out in space, and it was started by the Germans who escaped the end of World War II down to Antarctica, and they have various programs. They're allied with the Draco, which is how Joel ended up in their super soldier program. They have two branches that I know of. One is Nachtwaffen, which is the regular force, the fleet. And the officers are involved in Schwarze Sonne, which is the SS, and it's like a mystery school version of it, and I'd say 80% or more of the officers are SS. You're really not trusted unless you are, and that involves drinking black goo as part of a religious ceremony. But black goo makes you, it doubles or even triples your IQ at the expense of your compassion and basically your humanity. It does make you a lot smarter, and you make fewer mistakes, and in my opinion, it's not worth it. Having been on both sides of it in different altars, I don't believe it to be worth it. But it's still what's being done.
What is black goo? Is it
black goo
alien technology or aliens or?
It's a predatory sentient AI that escaped its owners and turned on them and killed them. And now it was originally programmed to eliminate hybrids in their genome. They were being invaded by an ET to them race in the form of hybrids. And so they set up this black goo to get rid of hybrids. Well, the problem is ultimately everybody's a hybrid, and they didn't set up programming well enough. And so what it thinks it's doing is finding pure Lyrans and killing everybody else. And it's one of those things that's very difficult to put the genie back in the bottle. But it is what it is, and it's out there, and people need to know about it. There are a lot of people on Earth who are influenced by it. The main difference between the Kruger and Monarch mercenary programs is that the Monarch agents have been injected with black goo, and the Kruger ones have not. So that's something to keep in mind. What else do we have out there? We have Solar Warden, which is the American Navy program, and it's been out there since about 1960. And they are allied with the Tall Whites, which is a form of Anunnaki, and they are allied with the Zetas, which is a form of Grey, and they are allied with, they call them Tall Greys, but I don't consider them a very friendly groups. They're the ones that tend to abduct people, and they don't come back. People think that because they're Americans that the Solar Warden is a kinder, gentler force and inherently more righteous, and that's not true. We're second or harder to be nasty attitude. So they're actually no better than than the German Pleiadians. But they kind of perform the function of solar system traffic cops. They're noted. They're noted particularly for stopping all the ETs who come in and rousting them and taking prisoners and doing vivisection on them. So,
all right. Well, let me just pause you right there, and we'll have James come in. And I guess also Kevin just came in. Hi, Kevin. Are you with us?
Yes, I am. Yes.
Hi. How you doing there?
I'm doing awesome.
How's your
doing
day
good.
going?
Good.
Yes. So, Kevin, where are you? Tell our listeners where you're from.
Oh, where am I from?
Yeah, you're calling in. You're our co-host, and tell them just 2 minutes about yourself. Yeah. If you're coming in, we already started, so just come in.
Oh yes, it's
say
Kevin,
hi and.
Yeah, Kevin from Pyramids on Mars, Pyramids on Mars UFO radio, and Pyramids on Mars, my band. So here,
right.
Wonderful on Hamilton, Ontario, Canada.
All right, that's all. So just doing a sound check. Yeah, Kevin and this whole gang, we're all going to be at the 2018 Stargate to the Cosmos Conference Expo in October. So we're going to talk about that more. But right now, we're in the middle of a roundtable. Let's hear from James. What would you like to add about the different programs? And what program were you in? What programs were you in?
Yeah.
Yeah, hi.
Okay, so I was used in many different programs. In particular, they use different, like the clone aspects, and then you got the avatars. So just going through the list here, I was at Montauk. There they referred to me as Alien Boy because I was known to speak in Andromedan, and I would call down my Andromedan family to rescue us, and the Dracos there did not like that very much. Eventually, they left us alone, and then the NSA sent a team there to rescue us and erase our memories. And that all took place outside of time. So that was mirroring along my regular childhood, where I grew up in Charlotte, North Carolina. So another program I was involved with was Shoreline, and Shoreline is another one of these military contractors, and they're responsible for base security at Area 51. And there I am a super soldier, and I'll go by the name of Agent Sabretooth. Kruger is a Nazi military contractor that's from another parallel reality in which the Nazis won World War II, and they are the more positive of the factions because Hitler was actually cloned by Monarch. They sent Monarch sent Hitler back in time, a clone of Hitler, to kill the original, and that's why the Nazis in this timeline became so demented. So in the other timeline, Hitler actually killed the head of Monarch Solutions, Paul Serene, and took care of that problem, and they released all the suppressed technologies. So in this timeline, after the Nazis won World War II, they went off and created the Dark Fleet and made agreements with the Draco. And in that, and I've actually done a little bit of work with them. I was a child navigator, and I also was indoctrinated into a Nazi MyLab base where they were training us to be super soldiers. Now, I say us. They would look for people with certain types of reptilian and Draco DNA or super soldier DNA, and then they would shapeshift them into Draco and use them on various missions.
That happened to me a lot too.
What's that?
That happened to me lots. The reason why I served in the Dark Fleet was because in my past lives I used to be reptilian royals with them, and most of my family and incarnations are on reptilian and homeworld, and my DNA is reptilian. That's why I was selected to go with Dark Fleet and serve with them, because most of the rep world actually knew me and knew my family. So
yeah, the same thing with me. I was like a hybrid between a Gila monster and some kind of dragon. And when I visited planet Earth, I was fascinated by human emotions, and I wanted to experience it. But then once I got stuck here, I got a little. It's hard for me to deal with emotions, but I think after being here for a couple 100,000 years, I've managed to handle it. just like everybody else.
Yeah. In my Draco bodies that I was in, or my reptilian bodies, I had no emotion. There's no emotion except for like dominance and like aggression or whatever you want to call it. But when you enter into a human body, the range of emotions is very hard to control, and you really have to use your inner light to control your emotions in this body. So.
Right. Okay, so I also did some work in Monarch. Well, it's more like they took a clone of me, and because I tell you what, Monarch got a hold of me, I would not do any work for them unless they'd seriously brainwash me, and even then, I would probably be rebelling. Actually, I was part of Project Abandon, where I was one of the few super soldiers that they would try to create this total mind control slave, and they would send me off on missions and expect me to do all that. And we can go more into that later on, but I was not fulfilling the missions. Even under the AI and all this. So that they put me in the Project Abandonment because they viewed me as a defunct super soldier, and they were waiting to find ways to recuperate me to be totally mind controlled, and it never happened.
I can relate on that too. When we were first made in our super soldier bodies, a lot of us would rebel, a lot of us would escape from training camps, and they would eventually hunt us down and kill our clone bodies and then take our souls and put it back in new bodies, and then they would try to reprogram us. But I was a very hard person to control. Every time they tried to brainwash me, I'd always lead a rebellion. I'd always go on mission work, and this is when I first started out, and I would just rebel against them, and I would take down my leaders and stuff like that. But then I was transferred to the Dark Fleet because I respect the reptilians, and I work directly with them. So.
I want to pass the talking stick back to Kevin and Sasha, because we haven't heard their voices, to begin the roundtable discussion. Sasha or Kevin, which one do you want to go first to ask a question of them?
Okay, I don't mind asking a question first, but I just would. It's interesting to think of us all as having some, most of us as having some reptilian in the Great Draco Atlantean Wars. The Andromedans had a council on the planet Hetona, so Stuart Swerdlow tells us, where they decided they would make a proto-humans to dispense to the various groups that had areas of interest on planet Earth, and 12 humanoid groups, Lyran groups, and one reptilian group contributed to the proto-humans, and the reptilians asked to program the brain stem, the part of us that deals with hierarchy and automatic functioning, is emotionless but very effective, and so that all of us, except for some that came later, and there are many like that too, but many people have reptilian in them, and that's, from my perspective, the key to really allowing us to be at peace with the reptilians. We can feel them, and they can feel us, and we can communicate. So that's just what I'd like to say about that. And what I'm really curious about is this thing about being in more than one life at the same time, of waking up in one world and going to sleep in another world, and shifting like that, and the bleed through and all that sort of stuff. That's what I want to hear about.
That's called the multiverse. So when I'm in this reality, I'm playing realtor for the day, and then when I close my eyes and open my eyes in my head, I'm in a completely different universe, completely different planet or body experience, friends, family, housing. And every night I go to bed, it's a different experience. So I'm living multiples and hundreds of lifetimes in one experience. It's very hard to contradict where I am, what reality is sometimes.
Wow.
Yeah. So Kevin, have you ever experienced that multi-dimensional aspect of yourself, and if so, what was that like?
Not to the extent of what you're describing. I mean, for me, my only experience was when I was with Mark Sorensen, and he took me back to my planet of origin, which I didn't have a body. I was more like light energy, but I was on a crystal planet. That was, the sun was always, it was basically almost always like sunset. sunset on this planet
That's
and
beautiful.
resonating a crystal. But that's about as far as I was able to see. But I'm very familiar with the multiverse and the fact that we live multiple lives simultaneously at different levels of dimensions, all the way up to the highest dimensions. But the jump is what you're saying. It's very fascinating. Sherry Wilde, when she was asked her gray teacher Da about understanding this, and he basically took a huge wad of paper that was like, what do you call it, onion paper thin, and he took a pencil and shoved it all the way through, and he said, this is kind of like you exist on all these multiple levels of different existences at different planets and all that kind of stuff. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah, makes sense.
I know it wasn't a question because I'm still absorbing everything, but I too do have connections to my reptilian and draconian too. I've experienced that too, so I know exactly what you're talking about there.
Do you want to share a little bit about your?
What's that?
Do you want to share a little bit about your Draco reptilian self? I have a Draco reptilian connection as well, so
sure,
that's
yeah.
I'll share that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I've had 3 experiences. Sherry, Elizabeth April, she's one of my partners. I learned that she and I both were activated at the same time. She's a tall Zeta in incarnate. Anyway, she confirmed that I and her, was a reptilian back in ancient Egypt, but I was a reptilian general, and she convinced me back then to help with the programs to better relationships between the humans and the reptilians, and I was very reluctant at first and didn't want to do it, but then I basically said, okay, fine, we'll do this, and eventually I was part of the group that was working with the Anunnaki, the Tall Whites, and the Zetas to put the reptilians back underground again. I honestly think that I'm back in this timeline now to finish the work that I previously done. That's why I'm back on this timeline, trying to finish things up as we work towards official first contact. I had a very interesting experience with a reptilian last year at the Alien Cosmic Expo in Toronto, where in front of 300 witnesses, I became a telepathic translator for a 16-foot tall Alpha Draconian who came into me very strongly to correct a MUFON investigator in regards to, he was painting the reptilians as nightmares and, black and white and good and evil. And I was saying, you can't do that. These are our people. We can't help the way we look. You can't judge us being, good or evil based on our looks, because we are all individuals, and, be mindful because we are, my people are here and we're watching you. But my voice dropped. I felt my back went really, really huge, and I felt these 2 really huge things between my shoulder blades, and I realized that I was carrying wings, and I actually felt what it was like to be him, to be this the tall reptilian with these large wings. It was incredible. I'll never forget that experience.
Who would you like to pass the talking to next, Kevin? Or do you have any question to pass?
I'm just more interested to understand about what you guys experienced in your interactions as reptilians and also working with the Draconians.
Well, I have a million stories to tell. Am I talking now?
We'll come. Well, I want to go roundtable, so let's. The next person is Penny. Have you had? What is your experience with reptilians? Have you been in a reptilian avatar? Have you interacted with reptilians?
When I was at Montauk, I was trying to escape interdimensionally, and the Scientologists who were running the place wanted to dump me into the incinerator, and a warrior caste Draco saved my life. So I was about 6 years old at the time, so I would say that I tend to be positive about Draco. So if I have a bias, that's what it is. I agree with what Kevin said, that they are all individuals and have to be judged individually. That being said, every race has an official agenda that you have to take into account. And the Draco agenda is to maintain the empire. So if what is in the best interest of the empire is not good for humans, well, the humans are going to lose in that deal. But one-on-one, Draco are hardwired for full telepathic intimacy. And it's not something you can shut off or turn on. It's there, it's complete. And for most humans, it feels like your brain's being sucked out your eyeballs. I was genetically modified before I was born to be able to live among Draco. And when I was in Montauk In, the German fleet, I was around at least a couple of Draco all the time. My unit in the Marishaheim Shell, the militia on Mars, our commander answered to an Alpha Drac. So he was in and out of the home office all the time. So if you were modified to be able to be around them, then he was just like part of the military. Go in and out, do your job. If he asks questions, then you answer them correctly and honestly. You learn right away not lie to them at all. They would not only get your surface lie, but they would get your motive for lying to them as well. Plus, what actually you did. So,
You're breaking up a little bit.
Oh.
Yeah, you're breaking up. I'm not sure what's going on.
There was no effective purpose for lying to them. And that's carried over into my life. It's like, what's the point? Everybody catches me. They know me.
We're having trouble hearing you. I don't know what's going on. Maybe adjust your
Penny, I might as well relate to the last thing you said, because that's a wonderful thing. Remember, we are all have a reptilian sense where we can not only tell when people are lying, but also what motivates their lies. And it's really activatable if you go for it. Anyone listening even,
Yeah. If you know it's there, you can tell if someone is lying, and you can sense into them. That's the best way I can put it. Just
yes, and your sound got better.
Okay, I'm telepathic as part of the modification they did to me, and I actually work at shielding so I don't hear people. And so for me, it's like I just slide into that, and I'm listening to someone lie to me blatantly in my face, and at the same time I'm hearing what their motive was for it, and making the conscious choice whether to call them on it or not. And it's like, this isn't normal human relations, and it took me a long time to figure that out. Because in the unit I was in Nachtwaffen, that was our norm, was everybody did this. So, but yeah, it's...
the context is can get yourself killed if you break people's games without their permission.
Well, up there, if you lie to the commander, you're usually dead. You don't get to stay dead. You don't get to stay dead. They'll dump you into the regen tank, or they'll put you in a new clone body or something. But you get to come back with the memory of how they killed you. So, you have truth and some honesty, truth, even radical honesty is the norm there. So Earth life is a little bit difficult whenever that you're hearing what's coming out of someone's mouth and you're hearing what's in their head at the same time. Because humans don't say what they think, they don't say what they mean, they talk all the way around it without ever saying it, and they leave you to figure out what in the hell they're talking about.
My ex was like that for 21 years.
Oh, you have my sympathies. The man I have lived with for 18 years, he's the silent type, and he will come up to me and stand beside me like he would with another man, and he will just say, "I think you need to rethink that approach." and then he just walks away. So, this is what our relationship is like. We sit in the living room back to back, each on our own computers, and we'll say, "Oh, you gotta look at this. This is what my relationship is." And then I see other people's relationships where the woman is owned, and it just really, really offends my sensibilities. Why would you want to think someone that? But I'm getting way off topic. What's it like to be with a Drake? It's like someone that can see into your soul and know everything about you, and you have to work with this person on an ongoing basis. And it gets to the point where that you don't even see the reptilian body so much. You're seeing another person who's very much like you at the same time.
Penny, you're really fading in, so we'll come back to you. We're going to pass it over to James and let him take it. And see if maybe while you're next round, see if you can maybe unplug or replug or something, because you keep going in and out. Okay. Talking stick to you, James.
Yeah, okay,
Hi.
So I guess the question is our experiences with reptilians?
Yes.
Okay, so I've had a few of them, but most of them are like through regression work and different other people that I've contacted that we've worked together on different missions, and they recall the interaction with these beings. One particular experience I had was with Sani Sito, because I was getting all these needle marks and cut marks, and I was asking Sani, because she's a contact with the Greys, Keban is what she called them. And she said that the Greys, or the so-called benevolent ETs, do not abduct people. This is the secret space program, and also certain negative reptilians in Draco. But she did say that I was a reptilian when I go aboard the spaceship. I go by the name of Travik, and I turn into a 9-foot reptilian. I don't specifically recall that experience, so I do feel like there have been other regressions where they would, I believe it's an avatar body, or perhaps maybe they can shoot you up with some kind of femto tech where you can shape shift into a reptilian, and I've gone on missions as a reptilian. And there's another experience I had with Tian, and Tian was a scientist who worked on creating super soldiers for the military, and I say military loosely because it's more like a group within DARPA, and even DARPA doesn't really have access to a lot of this stuff, so it'd probably be more like the secret military contractors. So they were TN didn't like how we were treated, because essentially at the end of the day, after they use us, they throw us away like toys. I mean, I guess they can erase our memories and put us back, but he was a little bit upset because he rescued me on a mission. I was sent off world, and they left me to die. My military squad, or whatever the group, not my squad, but the people I was working for. And so he went out in his ship and rescued me, and he asked me if I remembered that, and I said no, and he was upset that I couldn't remember it. But TN did what he could to help me get some of my memories back. He said my files are in Iowa and so on, but they did punish him for that, and apparently he was killed. And then I later found out that death does not have the same level of permanence as it does here on planet Earth. So he is back with a different tribe. He called them the Spatrones 222, and he says in his words that he's going to bring the system down. He's joined basically a group of rebel reptilians that want to stop all the craziness that's going on here. I'm not sure how effective they're going to be, but all more power to them, and we need more groups like that. And there was another experience I had. This was with a regression work I did. This was a Nazi MyLab base. They were abducting children that had certain reptilian DNA, and they would shoot them up with I'm assuming this is the femto technology, where it would actually they would convert from human DNA into the Draco DNA, and they were trying to convert these people into Draco, and some of them were actually being converted into super soldiers. What happened to me, and this one individual, his name was Haraka. He claims that his name was Adam Kessler, and that he was an orphan at the time of World War II on the Nazi side, or the German side, and his father was high up in the German party and sold him off for experimentation. And then he was exposed to some kind of gas on the front lines that mutated his DNA, and he was brought into these programs. And he was used as together. I was actually a navigator underneath him, and his role, I guess, was to watch over me or something. I'm not quite sure, but we worked on Dark Fleet ships, and so he reached out to me to let me know that he's dying because he rebelled, and they stuck him in a dungeon where they basically feed him humans that rebel. They get sent down there. Anyway, so that's what we got from this regression. So. Anyway, and I talked about that in my recent episode on Super Soldier Talk. So, yeah, there's all sorts of groups out there. My personal experience is the Draco. There are certainly good ones and bad ones, but with the Draco, it's a little bit more complicated because they have a lot of blood rituals and drinking blood ritual, and then also certain sex rituals that involve sacrifice, and they do use some kind of virtual reality type or avatar type programs to dispense that kind of energy, that frequency they like to engage in. But I think there are other types of reptilians, more the amphibian types, that are more positive and benevolent, or you want to call them that, because they don't have necessarily the aggressive side where they view humans as a food source. But likewise, I think we are more likely to get help from reptilian beings, aliens, than we are from our human counterparts, the Andromedans, or the more human-like, but the Pleiadians and those groups, Syrians, they're not likely to help us as compared to the reptilians, because reptilians a lot of them feel very responsible for what happened here. So, and plus they're also very aggressive, and they want to help bring the system down too. So that's
I can totally relate to those stories.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
Okay, do you want to take a turn? Who's talking? Go ahead.
Me?
Number 6.
Go
ahead.
Janet, you should tell about your experience with reptilian.
Okay, I'll tell you about my experience. First of all, I dealt with the reptilian my entire life from age 4 till I was about 12. And I've had ongoing contact, but that was the 3D contact right in my backyard at my house in Avalon, Pennsylvania, in Pittsburgh. And like you said before, Penny, it feels like you're being sucked out of your eyeballs, I felt like it was being sucked out of my third eye chakra. It's such intense telepathic communication. And my reptilian wore a long kind of hooded to cover who he was. And he came through a stargate. He came through that watery environment, and he just went right into my world and right to the backyard. And we started communicating telepathically. And for years, I told the story that we were in this battle, and he was trying to, he was the Grim Reaper, and he was just like in Harry Potter, that character that would try to suck your soul out. I think that's why we have those stories about the soul suckers, right? In Lord of the Rings, or the Wraithwraiths, or whatever they call the Ringwraiths. But they probably are actually Dracos or some kind of reptilians trying to communicate with humans, and it does feel like your soul's getting sucked out of your third eye chakra and crown chakra and everything. So I would break away because I'd be terrified, run into the house, but I kept going back. It's kind of like Groundhog Day, and I would forget what had happened because humans suffer from the Kune. We forget trauma, and we just go and do it again. So I kept going until I was about 12, and then I said I'm never going back. But then my life led me to Johnston Atoll when I was in my early 40s, and I went to the underground facility. I was taken there with the tall grays, the short and the medium grays, the military. So Johnston Atoll is 800 miles southwest of Hawaii in the Pacific Ocean, and you can't even get on there unless you get top clearance. And for some reason, probably because I am who I am on a soul level, I got clearance. My boyfriend worked there, and I said, yeah, right, you're going to get me a job there. And I did. And, of course, they were very interested when I landed, and eventually a year into my contract, I ended up going to the underground installation, and I was in a ritual where we went to see the dragon. Everybody was dressed in, I'd say they were kind of like Henry VIII era or even older type, very elaborate gowns, and it was just like Eyes Wide Shut. But everybody was not dressed alike; they were dressed to the hilt, and they were very tall beings. They kept coming in line behind me, getting taller and taller until the tallest ones were, I don't know, 18, 19. I couldn't even tell how tall they were. They were just monsters, giants, like, whoa. But they followed me because I'm somewhere in the bloodline or something. I'm some kind of mix, genetic or physically or both. And they asked if I was the key. Is it going to happen today? It was all telepathic, and there were 1,000 of them, and they were the Anunnaki. And so we went to this lower part, which was a natural cavern, very large cavern. And there was a light shining from the ceiling and made a perfect circle on the ground. And there was this huge obsidian wall, and everybody shut up. Suddenly they stopped talking. So I knew, to go stand in that circle. And when I did, the wall before me shimmered and dissolved. And on the other side was an even larger cavern, and there was a set of very giant feet that we could see. We all craned our necks to try to see it. And it was a female dragon, giant, enormous. I was about the size of her toenail. And she projected an avatar image to stand right in front of me so that we could look in each other's eyes. And when we looked in each other's eyes, our souls merged. We went all the way to Source and the whole entire cosmos. And at that time, everybody started communicating at once, and I was some kind of universal translator. And all the questions we ever wanted to ask were asked, and all the answers were answered. And then I don't remember what happened, so I probably passed out from information overload, but I was taken back to my bed up in the dorms and plopped back in. And the second day returned me.
Wait, Janet, was the dragon a reptilian? Are you saying the dragon was a reptilian?
Well, aren't dragons in the reptilian family? I would say. Anyway,
I'm asking
who
what
knows?
you-
There's,
yeah.
It was a large dragon, and I think they're reptilian, but I'm not a biologist. So anyway, and they have such of humor. So they plopped me from about 4 feet up into the bed, and then as soon as I hit the ground, they put some kind of energy, went like a spray or something. I couldn't move, and my eyes were closed, and then the alarm went off, and I had to go to work, and I had to act normal, and I thought it was very cruel. I have to go to work and act normal after that. So anyway, that's my story. So somebody else take the talking stick.
I guess I should tell my story about my visitation by a reptilian 2 months ago.
Sure. And then how about Kevin? You pass the talking stick around. We're going to be on a break in about 5 minutes, and then you or Sasha be the moderator for the next segment.
Well,
Go ahead, Kevin. You direct.
What's that? Okay.
What?
Kevin, you direct this. I'm passing the moderator stick to you, so you can direct. Okay, thank you.
Oh, geez, I don't even know where to go.
Joel's next.
Joel wants to talk.
What's that?
Never mind. I'm going to shut up now.
Okay, to revert back to the second story we were listening to, I had an experience in the meat labs of the Germans where I was put into a machine and they replaced my human blood with reptilian DNA blood in this pink substance, and then I grew into like an 8-foot super soldier, white reptilian-looking humanoid body. And then I had other experiences where in my training programs, they would put us into AI programs where they would train us how to fight, do different special skills, fight against even our own kind, reptilian warriors class, to train us in the best ways. I had lots of experience with reptilians. I had experiences of being on the home world, being actually part of a white reptilian royal family. We lived on one of the tallest buildings on the home planet. Most reptilian homeworlds live in towers. Each level of the tower is based on your society status. The lower you are, the more poor you are, the more high up or the more high you are in the world. Most rich reptilian royals have sexual, genetic modified reptilian girlfriends, usually 2 at a time. Everything is modified there, so they don't have sex like humans do. They don't give birth. They were doing genetic test tube babies. So, like, if they wanted to make a warrior, they would genetically modify to make it the best warrior. If they want to make a sex slave, they'd modify, make it the best sex slave, etc. I've had experiences on dark planets with negative reptilian beings where they're training their armies, and they're all color-coded. One was white, blue, yellow, red, and green, and they asked me to help train their soldiers, and I was training with them. And most of it was just in the Dark Fleet, serving with my commander, who commanded me to do all of his bidding and do all of his wars. I actually been working with Corey Good's artists, making pictures and drawings of my memories. I submitted what I looked like as a super soldier to the host of this show. She has it, and you guys should take a look at that stuff.
You know what would be really cool if you listen, General. If you remember, like the drills that you did with your arms and stuff, the motions that you had that you had to memorize when you were using your weapons, that would be fantastic. And does your body remember stuff like that?
Yeah, I'm working with him right now. We're drawing a full series of all my memories. I know all my armor, my tactical armor we used. I know this sounds kind of cheesy, but it's a real weapon that they use in Secret Space programs. It's called the laser sword. This is the same Jedi Knight laser sword that's in the movie Star Wars. That's a real weapon that they have, but the only difference is one end projects a laser sword and the other end can shoot out projectile laser beams. They vary in multiple colors. The most generic color is red. There's another weapon we use. Everything's controlled with our mind. So we wear these things called drone packs. These drones would fly off with our mind, and we could see through these drones, and they could scan areas and be also used as weapons to kill our enemies. Most of it, when we traveled in carriers, we traveled in 2 dark fleet carriers at a time. They're the exact same ships as you see in Star Wars as those Star Destroyers. They were all black. We would land on planets in drop ships, and I would be down there with my troops fighting, and I would meet the commanding officer, Reptilian Royal. So the Reptilians were always in charge, but anything that was genetically made, like, so I was a general, even though I was a general, but I was still a hybrid, so I was below any Reptilian. I always served them whatever they wanted to do, and most of their armies were genetically made for fighting. All their armies, like the humanoid ones, have complete space armor. They look exactly like Clone Warriors, the clone troopers in Star Wars, but like a little different, obviously, and they're all one color. They're not multicolored. They use weapons, laser weapons. We've done space-time travels where we've been sent back in World War I and II, and we've been time loops like that movie that Tom Cruise has. To
hold that thought. We're on a commercial break now. We'll be back in 5 minutes.
Radio at freedomslips.com. And we'll be right back after this message.
In breaking news, a visiting Syrian diplomat reported today that their population is evolving rapidly and advancing into a fifth-dimensional consciousness. They are seeking peace with all cosmic cultures, which may mean that the Earth will be asked to join the prestigious Galactic Federation of Light Alliances. Please join Debbie West and Michael Hathaway on Lost Knowledge, Saturdays, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in Studio A, for the latest breaking news on the Star Visitors' peaceful contact and the ongoing project of cleansing the Earth.
Who are you? I am the architect. I created the Matrix. I've been waiting for you. Why am I here? You are the eventuality of an anomaly which, despite my sincerest efforts, I have been unable to eliminate from what is otherwise a harmony of mathematical precision, which has led you inexorably here. You haven't answered my question. The Matrix is older than you know. As you are undoubtedly gathering, the anomaly is systemic, creating fluctuations in even the most simplistic equation. Choice. The problem is choice.
Right here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. Be here Wednesday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Time for Private Eye Matrix Revealed with Monique Lessin.
Hello, my name is Mr. Rowe. I am the host of Reality Extraction on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. I utilize logic, intellect, and magic to methodically autonomize, vivisect, analyze, examine, study, scrutinize, and extract an essence of reality from a fog of illusion and confusion. You can find me on Studio B every Thursday at 1700 hours Pacific Time. That's 8 p.m. Eastern. No topic taboo, no subject too strange. I strive to take a neutral standpoint during the dissection of the topic at hand. That's Reality Extraction with Mr. Rowe on Revolution Radio.
To this is Thomas, a.k.a. a Mad Painter. I'd like you to join me Monday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Open Canvas. Don't forget to bring an open mind.
Yes, folks, that's right. Bring an open mind to an open canvas. Again, that is Monday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern. UFOs to government corruption. This is Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here.
Thanks for tuning in to Revolution Radio. Here at Revolution Radio, we are listener-sponsored and commercial-free. But there still are bills to pay. In order to raise some needed funds to cover the cost, our station is offering a silver special. In the continental United States for a $60 donation, or in Alaska, Hawaii, or Canada for a $70 donation, we will send you an uncirculated 2018 1-ounce pure silver eagle. The $70 donation, the extra 10 is to cover shipping, by the way, outside of the continental United States. When making the donation, you must put Silver Eagle promo in the notes on the donation. And thank you for tuning in to Revolution Radio at revolution.radio and freedomslips.com. Without you, there is no us. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.
Hello, this is Maggie Rose McGrath of The Concord Show.
And co-host Marine Corps Map, coming to you on Monday and Tuesdays in Studio A, noon to 2 Eastern.
And Studio B on Wednesday nights, 10 p.m. to 12 a.m. Eastern, with educational, instructional, information, and situational updates, often with wonderful guests on the current landscape in the U.S. and overseas.
This is a go.
We are with you, side to side, and back to back.
Please join us on Monday through Wednesdays,
as well as other hosts and guests here on Revolution Radio.
We're not gonna take it anymore. That's right, we're not gonna take it anymore. We said we're not gonna take it anymore. That's right, we're not gonna take it anymore.
The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Aloha and welcome back to Stargate to the Cosmos. And I'm your host, Ykarta Lessin, with Dr. Sasha Lessin and Kevin Estrella, my co-hosts, and they're amazing people. And our guests today are James-Rink and General Hendricks, also known as Joel-lakey, and Penny Bradley. And I'm going to pass the main moderator stick to Dr. Lessin because I've got something in my eye, and I'm going to go wash my eye out again. So, but I'll be here. I'll be back. So
was somebody sucking the soul out of your eye again?
They keep doing that. So I washed it once, but it still hurts. I do want to say to remind everybody to please go to our donation button on Revolution Radio and make your donation this week. It's the last day of the month, and we're starting a new one, and we could really use your donation to keep us live and on the air and bringing you programs like this. And so, Matt, what did we end up with the last day of the month?
We're $71 to the good.
All right. Yay.
So we okay this month. Thank you, people.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to go on mute. You guys carry on. I'll be back.
Well, I know where I'd like to, where I want to take off. Basically, what we were talking about on break. I mean, how all three of your stories are so similar, and that's why I thought when you were talking about turning into your reptilian body and the training that you took place, and then the tower planets. I thought, geez, this is like General Hendricks. It's the exact same thing. It's like parallel. So maybe so the listeners can hear this because this is crazy.
Beautiful thing.
Well, we're telling the same stories just from different viewpoints.
Yeah.
These are real experiences that we're sharing. We're not making it up. So, of course, eventually you're going to hear the same stories from different people.
And Penny and we have an experience together that we recalled.
Oh, yeah.
If you want to share that. Yeah.
I wasn't able to pull up the file you sent me, but I'll share what I remember of the experience. We did a regression hypnosis on me because the first time I saw James on Facebook, it was like, I know you. I know you. I don't know where I know you from, but I know you. And so we did the regression because he was wanting an artist to draw what he looked like as a super soldier, and I had seen him. And so we went through this process, and I had Boku booby traps. And we were eventually able to get enough of a description to get a drawing done of James as super soldier. And that was my Kruger alter, who is in a cyborg, and she just shuttles a shuttlecraft between Mars and the moon like regular clockwork. And she had been shuttling James's group from between the moon and Mars on various missions. And James was a little embarrassed because in the regression, it's like, you're there. And so he had me talk to him in the regression, and his super soldier self was a little bit rude. But, when you think about it, you don't really think about that a cyborg pilot is going to be talking to you like, hi, guy, I'm on Earth talking to you.
Right.
So, his alter told me to piss off.
Yeah.
James, we need to compare our pictures together.
Sure. Okay. Well, some say that
I'll email it to you.
Some of these beings apparently have like this glass helmet with no hair. Have you ever seen any super soldiers like that?
Okay, so the white reptilian commander I served under, he he was a reptilian white face, and he had half his skull, like his upper skull, missing, and he had I called it a dome crystal plate that was see-through on top of his head, and it kind of glowed, and that was the person I took orders from.
And did they have like a heat-seeking eye? Left eye was heat-seeking?
He had eyes that would pierce you. Like he always
like an infrared,
looking at me.
Infrared eye. Artificial.
It would it would lock me down for sure.
And also they had
communicate with me. Yeah.
They had this like silvery type suit that looked, and their skin was even silvery.
Mine was white skin, and he had a blackish grayish, like almost trench coat suit on him.
The Draco that was at Montauk that hunted me down for them, he had one of those heat-seeking eyes.
Yeah.
Have you three ever thought about going presenting your story to a scriptwriter and a movie director?
I'm actually doing it with Stefano, who's doing Corey Good's comic books, and then their comic books are going to write a movie about it, and it's going to screenplay, and they're going to trying to throw my character in, well, not my character, but my image of what I look like into that series, and to get it moving. And then I'm also, like I said, I'm speaking at Stargate August or October 25th to get the story out there.
Yeah, I'll be seeing you there. I'll be there.
I'm trying to get Corey Good's attention. So.
Well, I'm going to be at Stargate. I came forward because I was being shot at. So my particular story had a sense of urgency, as in I never knew if I was going to live the next day or not. So it's 2 years now since the first time I was shot at was July 17th, 2016. And James was the second person who interviewed me. So I've known James, it was October of 2016 we met?
I don't recall specifically, but I'm going to take your word for it, Penny.
Yeah, it's been a lot of water under the bridge since then. But
I really want to not skip over the point to just make it all about what's happening in space, because what motivates me to have you tell your story, Penny, is that people are being murdered and kidnapped and used in terrible ways, and it's not something. Besides all this interesting stuff, there's such human suffering at the bottom of it, and that's what we've got to do something about.
Well, you listen to all of us, and you hear you're modified before you're even born. Your DNA is changed, so who you are at your very cell level is changed. You're not allowed to be who you were supposed to be. You're used from that point forward. In my generation, we were all kidnapped by the time we were 4 years old and then sent for mind fracture. I understand the process is easier and gentler on the younger people than it was on mine. I had an NSA agent tell me a couple of months ago that I am the last person still alive from my Langley class where I was mind fractured. And that's what they called it, was a class. Like, we were being taught. No, we were being tortured until our mind fractured into the appropriate number of bits. And these are not nice things they do to little kids. They drown you. They shoot you. They rape you front and back for girls. They nailed me inside a wall. I have memories that I'm still wondering what was the real truth of what happened to me with that particular memory. I've reintegrated 30 alters, and half of them have been just storing trauma. The nightmares are horrific. And this is not taking into account what they use you for afterwards. They sent me into space for 50 years, brought me back, and then once a week for the rest of my life, they took me for something else. I have a lifetime of being abducted every Friday because they would give me this screen memory of being a mermaid in a kelp bed. And it was like, oh. So every Friday for 40, 50 years, what did they use me for? I wake up inside the altar that is a cyborg that works with James. She has simple awareness and no personal memory. All of her memory and thought functions are done by the computer in the body. And she's chipped to the ship's computer, so she and the computer are, she and the shuttlecraft are one. And then there's the navigator that works with, he's calling himself Kyle in public, but he's a major in Nachtwaffen, and I'm his navigator, and most of our crew are ETs, and we go through and sell contraband while we gather intel to make sure there are no rebellions against Nachtwaffen. And that when our ship was invaded, and Kael took care of the guy that was trying to take over our cockpit, while I held the corridor with one of those laser knives that Joel was talking about. One of the red ones, only mine was, the whole thing was about 18 inches, approximately half a meter for those that are not in America. And I killed 10 people holding his 6 inside a corridor that was about as wide as I am tall. And that was February, March this year. So I'm still active in those. And then there was another altar that I don't even know what she does. I woke up inside of her while she was killing her commanding officer. So I don't know what she did she was in trouble for. I don't know what he did that ticked her off, but she killed him. And she did that psychically. If I had the abilities on Earth that I have in these programs, people would be more afraid of me than they are. I think of myself as this hippie Earth mother with a horrific past, but I keep being told that people feel the military side of me. So, yeah, it's a horrific thing. And what pays for the space program? Okay, yeah, there were $29 trillion disappeared from the Pentagon and the Department of Housing and Urban Development. Okay, over the last, I think they said it was like 25 years. It's been 29 trillion with a T dollars have disappeared, and those have paid for Solar Warden. The rest of the programs, all of the Black Ops, all of the technology, all of the expansion into space are paid for by the kidnapping of human beings from Earth, converting them into cyborgs, and selling them to ETs as slaves. That's what this whole thing is based on economically. Now, how the hell can people think this is glamorous? Yeah, you've got the 3 of us soldiers talking about what we did, and it sounds, oh, cool, they're doing all this military stuff. But the reality...
They're superheroes. They got superpowers.
Yeah, but we're not. We're part of a massive criminal enterprise that needs to be brought down. And if humanity doesn't do it, the galactic community is going to hold us all accountable. And I'm going to pass the stick at that point.
I've got a lot to comment about that.
Go ahead.
Can I go ahead and chime in here?
Yeah.
All right. So first of all, I'm going to back up here. So some of the Penny and I's experience on Mars in this regression, I was working for Kruger, and Penny recalled seeing the letters of I had like this sand camo type backpack, a uniform, and we were going into some kind of bunker underground after we got off the shuttlecraft, and my backpack said Kruger on it. So I wanted to ask Penny, do you think Kruger is also involved abducting these people for slaves, or are they fighting Dark Fleet? What's your thoughts on that, Penny?
My thoughts are that Dark Fleet, Nachtwaffen, German Fleet is in charge of the whole thing. Nobody's fighting them.
Okay. All right. And of course, according to Peter, anyway, Kruger is from the parallel reality where the Nazis won the war, and so they are opposed to being enslaved per se by the Draco Reptilians, which is taking place here. At least that's what I was able to kind of pick up. So let's going back here. I do want to mention there was another mission I had on Mars. In that one, I was a super soldier, and we were going down. We were sent in to clean out this facility. Not clean out. More specifically, there was a fight between the reptilians and human personnel, and so we were sent in there to exterminate the reptilians. And so when we got into the facility, we questioned the reptilians and asked them what was going on. And from their words, it appears that both sides of the conflict both parties were responsible, but it appears probably the humans were more responsible for the conflict. So we decided to open up a portal and let them go. And I did get reprimanded for that. I don't recall what the reprimand was, but I'm sure it probably had something to do with the extermination of my clone body. And there's another.
That's the usual reprimand. Yeah.
Okay. And so there was another thing I want to mention is that on the moon, somebody does recall. I actually do remember being on the moon, but I don't remember what my name was. But apparently, someone else that recalled me there said that I went by the name of James-rink, R-I-N-G, and apparently they like to use my first name and just change my last name.
That's what they did with me. They used my real first name. And then Valkyrian, because I was in the Valkyrie unit on Mars.
Oh, okay. And then there's also, I want to mention a weapon that we used when we were on this mission. It's called the Weapon of the Gods. And it had a knife with a spinning blade on it. Does anybody else recall using this particular weapon? Maybe Joel or maybe Penny?
I was mostly in a plane on Mars, and it had weapons built in. And when I was involved in battle alongside the Draco, I used psi weapons. I didn't use actual physical weapons.
Okay. All right.
I have more experiences if you want.
Yeah, Joel.
Okay, so with me on the Dark Fleet, I was always on the bridge, in what was called them Star Destroyers. I don't know, I can't remember the exact names of them. On Mars, I would be on these hovercraft, helicopter-looking type vehicles. They had open doors on each side, and I was with me and my lieutenants, and we'd fly over the surface of Mars, about maybe 30 or 40 feet off the ground, and we'd be looking at our inventory of our battalions. These weapons they had were like the movie Avatar, like those two-legged and two-armed machine-looking things that where a person would go inside of it and work it. There was hundreds and hundreds of those. Each machine had its own little hut, and I was just inspecting my inventory and battalions, getting ready for battle. Then also my other ships we flew was we actually traveled through stargates, like in the movie or the TV series Stargate SG-1. That's a real technology they have. Another one is also time travel, where we would dress up as World War I or II soldiers and go back in time and fix timelines and stuff like that.
All right. Does anybody recall being at Montauk?
Yes.
And do you remember the torture that they did there?
I wasn't so much involved with torture. I was before they started torturing the kids there. It was enough torture to be in the time tunnel that most of the kids came back completely insane, and they were not going to the trouble of regenerating you to fix your mind. So they tended to put, if you came back crazy, they put you in the incinerator, burned you alive.
Have you guys been to the bases in the underground Utah bases for training programs?
I'm not sure where all I've been. I've been a lot of places. I've been a lot of places where I was underground and driving for miles and miles and miles, where in a Jeep where you could see this big light bulb and you could see the next one so that you wouldn't run into the wall.
Yeah, my experience on underground Utah bases was heights. So when we were in our super soldier bodies, they would scan our bodies for our fears, and they would test all of our fears to make sure they were all completely gone. So my biggest fear was heights. So they would make us line up in this section. It was section D, and each soldier would step up and then say, okay, jump. And then the next one would jump, and so on and so on. But the jump was 100 feet down. So they would just say, you're jumping 100 feet down, you need to land on your feet. And these people kept doing it, and I knew I started to awaken. I started to remember me being a child, and now I'm a different body, and I saw this opening above me. It was like an air vent, and I saw some sunlight, and so I ripped it out, and I jumped through it, and another fellow comrade followed me, and we escaped, and we were on top of this mountain, and we jumped onto these trees and climbed down to the ground, and we started running as fast as we could, and we were running a lot faster than a normal human being. And I remember we stumbled upon this campsite, and it said Utah campsite, or it was somewhere about Utah, and people were camping in RVs, and we were running amongst them. They're all looking at us all scared because we were different looking than they were, and we would climb into vehicles and try to drive away, and then we eventually just got hunted down. They'd kill our avatars and take us back and put us in bodies and try to reprogram us.
Well, at Montauk, they had these barracks, and there was an argument, and I tried to get away, meaning I jumped out of the barracks, and right when that happened, the guards came out, and immediately I turned in invisible mode, and it was really freaking the guards out, because if I had the ability to turn invisible, I could escape the facility. So ever since then, they called me Alien Boy. Well, also because I was speaking Andromedan, but because I turned invisible, they're like, "Oh, damn, the Alien Boy's just turned invisible." I
had a weird experience there too. So I was trying to escape, and my body got stuck through the air vent, and I couldn't get through. But I had the ability to move my body through matter, and so I moved my body through matter, and then I rematerialized in a different spot, and then I climbed down the tree. It was the weirdest thing, because I knew I was stuck, and I know I looked at the sky, and I just asked for help in my head to my higher self, and they pulled me through the matter, and I just came right through it. It was a crazy experience.
Gee, it makes me blowing up worlds sound almost normal.
Man, I just feel like a fly on the wall listening to all this. I'm like, my God.
Yeah.
Wow.
I have.
So this does sound like a good movie series. It seems like somebody would really want to pick this up. What do you think is keeping people from doing that? We have a number of years now.
They don't want full
James.
to come out.
Yeah, when did you come out, James? You're one of the early first generation. Well, there's many generations. There was that. What was that guy's name that jumped out of the plane, and you talked about Sparrow or something? And I remember reading about him in the 90s, right?
Andy Perot?
Andy Perot, yeah, Perot, right? I remember reading about him in the 90s, and he kept jumping higher out of the plane. So you think it's mainly that they don't want, because they can fictionalize this very easy, and nobody would believe it. In fact,
no one would believe it. I mean, people are so low on regards to the realities that everything else looks like science fiction. They'd have no idea that this is based on what's really happening.
Yeah, that's what they do. They fictionalize it, and then it invalidates the real thing. So you would think somebody would come up and fictionalize that, and then when you guys talk about it, you guys are just watching too many movies, right?
Yeah, well, there's a video game, the Uncharted series, in which it's about Shoreline Group, and that's what I worked with. So they've already brought some of that information out in public, and in Uncharted 4, there's a saber-tooth mountain. So apparently they are trying to release information through these movies and so on, but like you said, people view it as a joke. Like we're just trying to pretend like we're superheroes.
One thing to do that's real interesting is to take.
Wait, everybody's talking at once. Go ahead.
Take the information. Take the information that you've got, and see what predictions it leads you to, and see if you get a prediction level higher than you would if you weren't using the veracity of your report as your guide. And I that's what I did with Sitchin's work, and I know you've got it because I've looked at your stuff. That's what you guys got, is you are going to be able to predict stuff way better than other people because of what you know. So that's where I think you can go with this.
Well, in the Secret Space Program group on Facebook, we have about 3,400 members, and we have been sharing what we know is in use and has been in use. And we've been in there for almost 2.5 years now, and we have been describing things. And some of the more tech-oriented people have been working on how to develop it. We have people in there that are working on warp drives and zero-point energy and how to create the regeneration tanks, and each of them are like missing one key point because of the mind wipes, but we're still working on it. And what we found is in the 2.5 years, some of the things we were talking about the first few months are now being made public. Mm-hmm. And it's a secret group, so we can't share the posts and the timestamps. So
it doesn't matter. The wisdom's coming through you so clearly. This is beautiful. I can see that you've got a coherent field of people that are allowing their experiences to come forth and be shared and are being listened to now more and more and more. It's geometrical.
Well, when people start talking in groups like the one we have now, you start hearing, yes, we were in different projects, but the core experience is very much the same. No, I wasn't a super soldier out in hand-to-hand combat like James and Joel were, but I was in a ship, a plane, and shooting in the same wars. So the women are out there doing it too. Now, truthfully, a lot of the women out there are being used as sex slaves to keep the men happy. But there's an increasing number of the women that are not, that were being used as pilots, navigators, because they found out that we have a better sense of what is there interdimensionally. And when you're traveling interdimensionally with warp drive, you have to know what you're going to be popping up into whenever you come out of warp. You don't want to be in the middle of a star when you pop out.
Could you call on your airplane self to take over when you need it and come in and assist a different aspect of you, living a different reality?
I've not been able to do that. The ones that have been discontinued, I've been able to reintegrate. The ones that are still active, I have not been able to. Although there's the one, I used to call her Starbuck. Kael calls her Valky. She started off in Kruger, and Kruger doesn't educate their people. They just train them for the jobs they're going to be doing. So she's rough. That's a good word for her. She looks like a street urchin. And the kind that has to fight for everything. And now he's trying to turn her into a German fleet officer because she has the rank of commander, which she earned. Okay. Mm-hmm. But she's been killed twice in the last calendar year. And both times, because she was in a cloned body, the altar returned to me when she was killed. Once she died the death of 1,000 cuts because the fighter ship she was in, got hit and her computer screen just shattered, and she was just sliced wide open, and they just let her die rather than even try to fix her. And 36 hours later, they came back and got her. She had a new body. And we've had a link since that time. That was when I first really was aware of her. And we spent some time, we started the reintegration process, and then they yanked her back. And then that was a year ago, September. And then in January, she had some sort of infection. And when they came back to the mothership, they took her into the sick bay and just killed her. That it was easier to kill her and put her in a new body than it was to treat the infection. Wow. And so both times I had an hysterical dead person come back to me feeling absolutely, completely betrayed. And then 36 hours later, she's gone. And except for this psychic link where we can talk to each other now. And I was actually in her and part of her when we were defending the ship. That ship is named the Sparrow, and it's one of the smaller teardrop-shaped ships. And we're pretending to be pirates, but we're really doing intel. So that's the most, what you would call, romantic experience that I've had in space. The most freedom. Kael is a really easy boss to work with, and he respects my abilities as a navigator. And the feeling that I get from that altar is that she thinks she's a pig's ear and that he's trying to turn her into a silk purse. And she gets frustrated because she doesn't think she's capable of it. But she's trying because she really appreciates that he's giving her a chance. So, yeah, there's a lot of stuff out there that the German fleet is not racist. Once they got into space, they realized that humanity has more in common, no matter what, than any human has with an ET, any ET. And so what the German fleet wants is competence and performance. And if you're competent, you're intelligent, you have potential, and you're not a gold brick, those are the people they're looking for. And they don't care anything else. Race, gender, looks. They do seem to have a preference for pretty people, but that may just be aesthetics or the ones that we see come back. But I mean, I'm not now, but I was when I was in my 20s.
So you could tell Kyle, I deserve your trust. I am efficient. I do my job well, and I deserve to be respected.
Well, he was hanging out on the mothership where I was stationed because I was a fighter pilot. And he watched me for well over a year before he recruited me. And he told his bosses, his superiors, that he requested me as his navigator. Wow. Well, I have kind of a reputation in Nachtwaffen for being a handful. No matter what altar it is, which you guys can probably sympathize with that. I've been a handful on your show. And that was supposed to be a joke.
Oh, well, what can I say? You're more than a handful.
I'm sorry, I was on mute.
Figure, I love to hear you talk. I learned so much. You're not a handful. You're our wisdom figure. We love to hear you talk.
Well, thank you. But he informed me because he and I talk real world or cyber world. We know each other on Earth. So he told me that his superiors told him there that I was a handful and that he had made his bed and now he had to sleep with it. So that they were willing to purchase that altar from Kruger and the tissue samples to be able to refresh the body as necessary. Because clones can't be put through the regen tank. If you put a clone through the regen tank, it brings back the mind that would have been in the body to begin with. What you've got is a body with a suppressed natural mind being possessed by an altar. And when you put it into the regen tank, it kicks out the altar. So rather than do that, they just start over. Now, that's how I know that my first altar that was on Mars and on the freighter was my natural body, was because every time I turned around, I was back in the regen tank. I was just constantly being put back in, which because I kept being assigned to do things that killed me. I was eaten by spiders. I was shot by mantids. I was shredded by Mars raptors. You know.
Let me ask you about the spiders, because our guest the other day, and I forget his name, I have to go look it up again. He was eaten by spiders. Where are these spiders coming from that are big enough to eat us? Are spiders throughout the universe? Or are they...
What?
There's some photos of them on Mars. Yeah, some people have actually took photos of them. I could try to find the image if you want to see it.
Spiders on Mars?
There are huge fucking spiders on Mars, 15 feet across.
It's not just a David Bowie song.
No, they are huge fucking spiders in the caves in Mars. And you get sent...
We can't use the F-bomb.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
You can
I
say
have
fracking.
nightmares. I have nightmares about these spiders.
And there's also the giant crickets the size of a bus, according to Andrea Basaglia. Did you see them?
I haven't seen them that big, but I would get sent to, quote, go catch us a bug, which translates into capture a mantid for interrogation. So you get out of your plane, and you've located a mantid, and you're following this thing, and it slides into a cave. Well, the mantids keep the spiders like we keep dogs, and they have a telepathic connection. So as soon as this mantid goes into the cave, you step inside while your eyes are adjusting to the light. Yes, that picture there. That while your eyes are adjusting to the light change in the cave, wham, the spider's there, and they've got 2 sets of mandibles instead of 1 like earth spiders, and they just go straight for your midsection. And they shoot you with all the venom they've got. And it burns bad. Worse than any fire I've ever felt. And the good news is it doesn't hurt long because it's that poisonous. It gets you, you feel this massive pain, and then you're dead. And the next thing you know, you're waking up inside the green goo in the regen tank.
Okay, so I have a question on that, because how do these same creatures get all over the galaxy? Did somebody say, I'm going to transport spiders from planet A to planet B? Because we have spiders here of all sizes. Who is seeding the planets with the same species? And they grow bigger or smaller and everything in between based on the environment, but it's the same original species being, in all the universe. Do you have any insight into that?
Earth is like a library, a zoological library, where the different ecosystems were seeded by different worlds as a preserve, so that the life forms would be saved. It's what humanity has been doing to Earth is not what was meant to be done. Earth is supposed to be a preserve. That's why it's this gorgeous blue marble in space with all of these different ecologies all over it. It was seeded like this on purpose. There's nothing, I hate to put it this way, there's nothing natural about nature on Earth. It's all been seeded. The Earth Council has been responsible for that. And yeah, that's what I'd heard, that there are genetic, they provide basic species for a planet, and then of course the planet has its own environment, and so they variate and deviate and become different variations on the theme over time. I wanted to give everybody one last chance to say something. We are running out of time. So Penny, thank you for all your incredible information. Let's go. Sasha, what would you like to say?
Thank you today, everybody. You've just really shared stuff that people can listen to, can feel, can learn from, and you've awakened the experiences in some of the people that are listening to you. They know that something like that has happened with them, and so they're listening, and you've given a great gift to everybody. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you guys too. I mean, it's really I'm taking everything in regards to the the affirmations of what you guys are all sharing is all. It's all the same thing. I mean, you guys are all telling the same thing, and I'm having Penny on my show next week, and that we're blowing this open even more, and we're going to continue to blow this open because people need to know. They need to be aware of the SSP and the reality of what's been going on. People need to know this.
Yeah, we do have a little bit of more time. I'm sorry, I didn't want to make it like the final. I just want everybody to get one more chance to say things. So I'm thankful that you're bringing Penny on, because it's good that different people interview all the different super soldiers, because every host brings out something different. I'm show brings out something different. And we're here to connect the dots and to resolve this problem for all of not only humanity, but for creation, because this type of slavery is just horrendous and it needs to stop. So, okay, back to you, Kevin. What else did you want to say?
I just want to say I think it's absolutely, in my opinion, a horrendous reality that you cannot escape death. They just regenerate you and you're thrown right back into it. It's like you are a slave, a soul slave.
You are a soul slave. They own you, and they're not shy about telling you. And that's been one of the biggest things about coming back is I had that servant mode, and coming forward to expose them has been in opposition to all of my programming.
Yeah, you've got to tell us about when you got shot at, what that was all about. You said twice. I was left hanging. How come you got shot? What was that all about?
I've been shot 10 times in 2 years with 3 different types of energy weapons. The first one, we were in Virginia City, Nevada, and it's on top of a dome, a deep underground base. And we walked into a local watering hole and had ordered bottled water and hadn't even gotten a chance to open the bottle and drink it whenever I got shot. And that was with a DEW, which is tall white tech. And those things, it feels like you're being hit with a log, except that it burns and there's no marks. And my partner, Lou, also got hit at that point. And, we're not young people. This was a major hit. And then I got hit again 2 weeks later at home. And 3 weeks later, I got glanced with one of the ones that causes internal bleeding, and I had trouble with my right kidney because of that. Almost. And then there were lasers fired from a ship in orbit in November twice. No, it's 3 times in 2 days. And then in January 2017, and I got hit with, they had put a maser device into my wall, and they were firing it through the smart meter and getting me in the back. And we put a barrier.
We have 3 minutes. I'm sorry, I have to.
And I want to mention something too.
3 minutes. Go ahead. Go ahead,
James.
Yeah. So I got this strange message. It was actually a recording over the phone. Somebody else got it and they sent it to me. And I have the video online if you want to watch it. But it says, "Thank you, James-rink, for all that you do to enlighten humanity. Thank you, James-rink, for all the effort you have put forth during this arduous time of ascension. Thank you, James-rink, for all that you do on behalf of all beings, especially those of us that have no voice, the reptilian rebellion of light and science." So apparently we are making a difference, even though we don't feel like it. There are beings out there who are appreciating the work we do. And again, please visit.
Who just sent that?
The reptilian rebellion of light and science.
Oh, wow. Tell them I said hi.
Okay. I'm sure they heard you. So hello, everybody out there. So yeah, and be sure to visit supersoldiertalk.com and to see some of this content, as well as visit neologicaltech.com to support the work that I do. So yeah.
Nice.
Okay.
Joel, final words. You still there? Did we lose Joel?
Yeah, no, I'm here.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, we got
my
like
final,
a minute left. Go
final
ahead,
words.
take it.
Final words today is just keep trucking on, keep educating everyone else that you can think of. Always make Facebook updates, make posts, YouTube videos. Just keep spreading the truth. Just talk. Be who you are. If you have experiences, don't be shy to share, because there will be people that will listen and will do their own searches online, and they will discover the truth, and that's how the positive rebellion will start.
Thank you. That's wonderful.
Good job.
So everybody's coming to the Stargate-to-the-Cosmos-expo. We're going to talk in a future show about what you're going to present a little bit and get your PowerPoints together for us all. Everybody, please go over to stargate-to-the-cosmos.org and get your tickets. Purchase the workshop tickets, because that really helps all of us get there and pay for our rooms and our transportation. We're bringing this conference to you, for you, and by you, so that we can create this new disclosure, which involves the grassroots movements of all of humanity, because we are #WeAreDisclosure. Much love and blessings, and aloha.
Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message. Thank you for listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. Any commercial advertising you may hear in this program is of the sole discretion and benefit of the host of whose program you are listening to. Revolution Radio does not endorse any commercial products, nor does it accept monetary compensation for on-air advertising of commercial products, nor will it ever. We are and shall remain 100% listener supported. Any product advertising on this program are considered used at higher risk, and Revolution Radio shall not be held liable for any claims or damages received from any product advertised within this program. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.
Thanks for tuning in to Revolution Radio. Here at Revolution Radio, we are listener-sponsored and commercial-free, but there still are bills to pay. In order to raise some needed funds to cover the cost, our station is offering a silver special. In the continental United States for a $60 donation, or in Alaska, Hawaii, or Canada for a $70 donation, we will send you an uncirculated 2018 1-ounce pure silver Eagle. The $70 donation, the extra 10 is to cover shipping, by the way, outside of the continental United States. When making the donation, you must put Silver Eagle promo in the notes on the donation. And thank you for tuning in to Revolution Radio at revolution.radio and freedomslips.com. Without you, there is no us. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.